So Monday we meet again. We will never be friends, but maybe we can move past our mutual enmity towards a more positive partnership. That's a saying by Giulio Alexi Gennaro. He's a philosopher, and just like me, he doesn't necessarily like Monday, but he says that as much as we don't like each other, we can make the best of the day and we can find a way to have a more positive partnership. And just like Giulio here, I'm sure there's a lot of you that don't necessarily like Monday because it just robs you of all the rest that the weekend offers to you. But regardless of that inconvenience, it's a new day, it's a new opportunity. It gives you clarity on the things that you should achieve as you begin the work week. Good morning to you, listeners. Mainland 98.3 FM is the frequency, and it's Monday, the 13th October 2025. You are listening to the sound of Lagos, Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Sage Babalola, and I will be taking you through the newspaper this morning on our morning program called Trends in the Papers. The Morning Express actually begins at 5 a.m. all the way to 11 a.m. Now, within the Morning Express, we have a number of segments that cater to specific conversations in the morning. For right now, we are going to be flipping through the pages of our dailies, looking at the stories that have been reported, especially on the front covers. And then we have Mainland Focus, where we pay attention primarily to a few of the stories that we had earlier reviewed during Trends in the Papers. And then we take your phone calls, we read your messages, and we basically just take your feedback on these issues. Hence, Mainland Focus. Yes, and then we have the health segment of the morning show. It's called Mother and Child. This is a specialized health program where we focus on the safety, on the wellness, on the welfare of children as well as mothers. We understand that they do constitute the most vulnerable of society, and there's still some sort of paucity of service, especially within the medical landscape, being offered to this demographic. And so we thought we can play our own part by at least sensitizing or creating a platform for experts to come and sensitize the public on how to take care of our women, how to take care of our children, how to take care of our girls. We also have a health program, but that doesn't happen on Mondays, it happens on Fridays. This is where we talk about everybody else. So you're not exempted just because you're not within the demographic, right? You're not a woman or you're not a child. You're not forgotten at all. We have a program for you as well as a person, and it's on Fridays at 10:15 to 11 a.m. But for Mondays, we focus on girls, we focus on mothers, we focus on women, and we focus on children. Well, back to the conversation. It is a very, very interesting day, I should say. The papers are indeed filled with interesting reports, but don't forget that we are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, and we do implore you to join our live stream. Like, share, comment, engage our post, turn on post to know when we post something on our social media platforms. Now, remember last week we told you that there's an opportunity for you to win yourself a bag of rice by December, and all you need to do is answer at least 5 questions per day on different shows from now till December, which means that all the programs that would air today from right now till midnight when we close shop, random questions will be asked on random shows without any announcement. And if you're able to successfully answer at least 5 of those questions throughout the course of the day, and you continue on that trajectory till December, you might be on the list of 10 lucky people that will win a bag of rice, courtesy Mainland 98.3 FM. It begins this morning, but I will not tell you when the question will be asked. I will be asking the question. You don't know when I'll ask it. You don't know how long I'll open the phone lines for you to answer the question. You don't know how many people will be selected. So it's best that you pay attention. Those of you who start to know what we're talking about and you just caught a chance to be among the 10 forward, let's not get lost in all the great weekend events. According to our newspapers, on Saturday, The Guardian had reported strike orders members to down tools on Monday. 2027 youth leader back Tinubu calls for single 7-year term. Mba's planned exit signals PDP collapse in Southeast, says Okechukwu. INEC reviews Yakubu's era, says reform laid foundation for credible election. Huriwa questioned Tinubu's motive in appointing Amukbito. Lagos government records 2,213 cases of violence against girls. Threatens ASU with no work, no pay. Presidency not yet agents. Atiku slammed Tinubu over pardon for grave offenders. Stop demarketing your country, Umai tells Nigerians. Sister beats sibling to pulp over missed flight at Abuja airport. The Vanguard newspaper weekend report. You cannot fight drugs and free traffickers. ADC slams Tinubu. Federal government receives 130 hectares from Ogun government for Ijebu evasion. Other financial malpractices disservice to Nigeria, says the EFCC. Defections will not sink PDP. We will return to Aso Villa in 2027, says Bala Mohammed, with the course of the weekend, some of which obviously spill into the conversations that we would have this very morning. Now, for analysis, Fuad Said is all permits us. We will look very briefly at the Vanguard newspapers for stories that are probably in your comments using the live chat option, so that if you want an opportunity to comment on the stories as we go along in real time via social media, and it's important that you follow us on the social media platform so you know the minute we're live and you're able to join the programs from the minute we say hello to you. Mainland 98.3 FM trends in the where hospitals are well equipped and where every community enjoys clean water and good roads. That future is possible, but only if we use our votes wisely.
Sadly, some people are ready to exchange their votes for money, food, or empty promises, and some politicians are ready to buy them. But ask yourself, after the money is spent, after the food is gone, what remains? 5, maybe 10 years of suffering under bad leadership.
Is your child's education worth just a small gift? Is your community's progress worth only a bag of rice or a few naira? No, it is worth much more.
When you keep your votes, when you cast it freely and wisely, you protect your dignity, your rights, and your future. Leaders who buy votes cannot serve the people faithfully, but leaders chosen by honest votes are accountable to you, the people.
Let us stand together. Let us reject vote buying and selling. Let us prove that our future cannot be bought. Your vote is your power, your right, and your responsibility. Use it wisely. This message is brought to you by Mainland 98.3 FM. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. I believe we have Fuad Said now joining us via the phone. Good morning, Fuad. How was your weekend?
Fantastic. Good morning, Sage. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I thought you had relocated.
It's crazy, really. But we had the elections yesterday, presidential elections, so I'm sure the vote tally will start to be released today. It's just what it is, really. Well, over 90 years, or Biya still wants to run. Over 42 years in power.
8 terms. Eight terms. They are 25 years old, which means that from the day they were born till this very moment, they have known no other president. They've not experienced any other president since the day they got to earth till this very moment. 8 terms is what he has served, and if he wins this election, it means that he would be president well into 100 years old.
Years old, yeah. And the sad part of the whole thing is that it's clear that, look, as we speak, he may not even be aware that there's a presidential election going on in Cameroon. This is a man who clearly has lost his memory. He's so frail. He hardly knows if anything is going on around him. The last time he appeared at the UN, the sad part of all of this again is that, look, there are people who continue to urge him on. His wife, for example, is said to be at the center of this entire, unfortunate episode in the life of Cameroonians. You also have ministers, you have political elites, you have the business class who are beneficiaries of the years of this man holding on to power in Cameroon, who find a way to rationalize it. One of them, for example, is this presidential pardon that has been granted to known criminals. See, it's unbelievable, I must tell you. I was going to make it a part of our conversation on political roundtable yesterday. I said, look, okay, maybe let's just have it. You have people who still think, well, it's normal. The abnormality has become the normal. The abnormal has become the normal.
It's expected, aside from the ASU situation, which we will get into, the whole conversation around the presidential pardon is one of the biggest controversy in the country at this time. and let's talk about it for a side. 175 names, yes. We did hear about the Ogoni 9, which a lot of people said, well, it's great. I mean, they're working towards a resolution so that oil exploration can resume in Ogoni. They can clean up the place. We understood that part of granting pardon to the Ogoni 9 posthumously, yes, Herbert Macaulay and the others. But then when it came to light, the individuals that constituted that list of 175 names, that's clemency, right, whose sentences had been commuted, who had enjoyed napping. These were individuals that were convicted for gun running, and they had barely served their sentence, and for some reason they were eligible for the prerogative of mercy. They were eligible for presidential pardon. That's what primarily was meant for. Also for those who were on death row to commute their sentences to maybe considered eligible for this kind of presidential pardon. So I'll just read out, say, 4 of what makes you eligible and see if any of these individuals are eligible. So eligibility for a recommendation for 15 years in prison. So you should have spent at least 15 years to be considered for this presidential pardon. Rehabilitation, reformation, reintegration into society after release on completion of prison term, and then recommendations for clemency by the council. It's a very why, first of all, and then what story does this tell? We have the EFCC that is working hard. We have the NDLEA that is breaking their back and bending over backward, enjoying presidential pardon.
Sage, a mockery of our justice system, a mockery of all our efforts as a nation. We are hardworking. We have decided that despite the suffering, once you have people in high places, when it happened under the late President Buhari, there was a lot of talk, especially when it concerned 2 former governors of Taraba State. And we have said that this is completely embarrassing. If at those 2, I think at only served 2 years before they were pardoned. See, they had, like you just mentioned, the EFCC have done a lot of work, brought a lot of people to court for prosecution, and because of the public fund, now they successfully did this too. See, I'm still coming to this one, and then this, but that was actually the high point of that entire episode. That people are like, the message to the political class is that, look, do the crime. Just if the message is simple, Sage, go court. Now to this particular one, Sage, look, I've tried to read through, I've tried to check, even try to rationalize it in my mind. So let us even check. They made it a bit comical when they added about Macaulay to the list. Just to, again, a way to tell us you guys don't know what you're doing. We're just joking, passing around with you. You guys will say what you want to say. At the end of the day, we still will get away with what we have done. They're having to do with an independent Nigeria, a sovereign independent state called Nigeria. Things properly. If you look at what statisticians have been able to put out, it said for drug trafficking, say 30%. That is close to half of the people have issues related to drug trafficking. Then 24% unlawful mining, illegal mining. 13.5% homicide. Then 12.3% fraud and theft, 2.3%. Kidnapping. People who have been kidnapping people. Also made for rolling out some of the conditions for clemency, the things to be considered. It's clear. And you see, this power given to the president, they said there's a presidential pardon committee. And I keep telling the people that, look, a lot of committees in Nigeria actually work to the dictates and the interests of the president and the presidency. It's not as if people are saying, maybe they just recommended this, or the president did not probably check and just signed off on it. At the end of the day, the buck stops at the desk of the president. That is why it's called presidential pardon. It's not a committee's pardon, normally deserving of this kind of pardon. Are people you call prisoners of conscience. Since in doing that, maybe we arrest, for example, Nelson Mandela. He got a pardon. Activists, social rights activists, people who are convicted fighting for the rights of the people. And those are the kinds of people you expect to make this list. See, and then maybe people who have been given capital punishment, life sentences, who have served. In fact, what they do is to even check their records in prison, whether they've shown any remorse, they've been well behaved, or maybe while they were dead, they've also been doing some form of advocacy. So it does some abuse. The optics is terrible. If you look at the list and see the explanation, some of these drug traffickers are very first serious. Some of them were convicted just in 2023. Highly connected, the parents of this lady, the mother particularly, years into forcibly murdering her husband. She's free. What about kidnappers are granted presidential pardon? No, the message is clear to other kidnappers now. Just make sure that before you commit the crime, the fact that 40% of Nigerians are battling mental health issues. A lot of them related to drug insatiety. So it's unbelievable, it's an embarrassment, it's a shame. And then it's unfortunate, I must say.
Is it possible?
Look at the issue of Tʀᴇɪᴅs, the on abusing that privilege by collecting bribe and what have you. Oh, that remained. It should have remained an ex-convict. The government cannot fight. There was also one list that everybody made too. So if you look at the whole thing, it's a very clear message. Go ahead and commit the crime. That's the message I'm saying here. That's my own analysis. It's not. The pardon has been given. You can't work out it. Or you say you are not pardoning them again. It's a committee that made the recommendation. The president presented to the Council of State. Their victims are still not recovered. A lot of them, the victims of this crime, have not recovered. What about? You see that it's even dangerous for you to go and witness against a criminal now. Before you know, they go release, I go come after you. Say you. The guy told you I was going to come out. I told you I'll be back. Parrots. Because those people, sorry?
I said they'll say parrots. You see yourself.
They say I told you I'll be back.
I don't even think they offered it.
So we have a very weak justice system. Trying and pushing through the justice system, they are able to convict these criminals that they took it to a higher level, they got a presidential pardon. Should we call ourselves a den of criminals where they are pampered? This is embarrassing.
Well, let's see if after all this pushback and backlash, maybe there'll be an official statement from the presidency helping. But I don't think that is president-like to allow for narratives like this to continue, right? So the right thing we do. Okay.
But the more they try to rationalize this nonsense, the more they embarrass themselves. Okay, how do you rationalize this one now?
I have
Help
no
them
idea.
Think about it.
So I'm going to give
maybe when the president returns, the president is, I don't know whether he has left. He was supposed to leave yesterday.
He's in Rome. I think he's in Rome. He's
has he gone?
No, I don't know, but I know that he's supposed to go to Rome for the security meeting. Yes, but I don't know if he left the country yet.
And Sage, this idea of Sage, because of his years of experience, training, and what have you. But the idea of a presidential press release, big gaps, deliberate gaps, it's a bit frustrating if you ask me. This event in Rome is supposed to start on Tuesday, tomorrow, the 14th, right?
Yeah.
The press release was released, I think, on Sunday. And if you read it through the press release, the idea was that the president was going to be leaving immediately. Again, there are people who have questioned what was the view. But when you have a press release detailing the movement and the activity of the president outside the view, you tell us the president is going for this event, so date. We will be leaving so date. But at the end of the day, you don't tell us when the president will return.
You are being more Catholic than the Pope.
By wanting to know when the president will return to the country.
Yes. What? Is it that?
So if you know, it's our president. I will not, for example, be asking a private citizen. For example, Mr. Peter, if you look at some of the reports, they said it's all of this going to come back into the country. See, nobody, because as it stands today, Mr. Peter is a private citizen who goes on these streets on public funds, and he has to be accountable to the public. And one of the issues of accountability is telling us he's going and when he will be returning.
Well, the report just says president heads to Rome. There's no report that says president arrives Rome yet. So, summit. So, yes, it still trends in the papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. I'm Sage Babalola here conversing with Fuad Said, and we're looking at the newspapers. Let's move a little bit to Guardian so we can talk about ASU. The Guardian gives us a full picture of what's going on now. ASU today will begin their strike after they had given the federal government a 14-day ultimatum. Now, the federal government, in response to this, I believe the strike is supposed to be for 2 weeks. Yes, the federal government has responded, and their approach to this is the no work, no pay policy. This had happened before, and I think the president had said their payment should be released to them in tranches at the time. But now the federal government is also invoking the no work, no pay policy in response to ASU's decision to go on strike. Now, there's been explanation from both quarters, right? We have Chris Piwuna, who said that the federal government actually had brought certain things to the table, the negotiation table, but it was embarrassing. What was in there was almost like an embarrassment to them. You know, why would you bring these kind of terms to us? Now, I wish that they had given us specifics of what the terms of the negotiation were, or the terms of the proposal by the federal government were, but no detail have been given. But the reaction of ASU is, why would you bring these kind of proposal to us, despite everything that we're fighting for here? The federal government, on the other hand, is saying that we dialogued with you, we gave you conditions, we gave you a proposal, and instead of that's the way you're choosing to go, we also will now invoke the no work, no pay organization of lecturers, especially in Unilag and in Kano State. This is about providing infrastructure for universities. It's mostly payment and state of the education sector. What are your thoughts about ASU? Did they handle this well? They've admitted that the federal government did submit a proposal, but the content of that proposal through it rather than deciding to go on strike. What is your night?
Staying on the left and on the right. I'm not looking for a middle ground in itself. It's not going to help anybody. My mind, because remember that this no work, no pay, our universities were shut. Because again, you are taking a stand that wasn't going to negotiate under lock and key. So we hope that we're not going to get to a point where 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Again, we are talking about that this agreement has been on the table since the period of Goodluck Jonathan, just after the death of Yar'Adua. See, Goodluck Jonathan used to, and I'm sure that because of how long they are taking to really sit down to implement this agreement, a lot of things must have changed. Economic realities, financial realities, microeconomic indices would have changed. That in itself would have probably made some of the recommendations in 2009 irrelevant now. So it means that something has to be negotiated. So I would appeal to both sides, both on the side of ASU and the federal government, to look at the middle ground for the sake of the students who are going to suffer unnecessarily. These distortions, these disruptions in the economic activity does not help everybody. We are still struggling to properly educate our children. We shouldn't be distracting them with this needless, avoidable strike. So, I think more of the responsibility of they are the employers. Look at what their employees are saying and find a middle ground. That's what I would say.
Very unfortunate for anyone who's still within the education system in Nigeria at this time, especially undergrad. It's very, very unfortunate. You get into school hoping to spend 4 or 5 years, and then you spend 9 years, right? And I feel sorry for those who are particularly, you can even get to really I don't know. I feel somehow, what?
I said, do you now know why a lot of parents who have the means are looking at private universities for their children?
I mean,
but how many Nigerians can afford millions of naira, for university, for courses? So, and how many Nigerians fall into that bracket? We are talking about funding issues here. If you listen to the new ASU president,
Chris Piwuna.
Yeah, he talked about the fact that and a lot of people might think it's about just the interest of university lecturers. Look, who says they should not be taken care of? The average professor, they go to the schools, what do they really enjoy? There are no facilities to teach, no research grants. I've gone to lecturers' offices and you look at the environment, and hostility, there's no funding really going to education. As a nation, we are building roads, building infrastructure, brilliant. But like Barrister Curtis was saying yesterday, if you refuse to educate the people that use the road, They will eventually come and steal the railings and put in infrastructure in place. Can you?
They're able to reach a middle ground. We're going back to Punch now. Crude road deepens as refiners reject 11 million barrels local are reportedly rejecting crude. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission says that 11 crude oil cargoes offered to local refiners in a month were not taken up despite their repeated complaint about crude shortage. The Chief Executive Officer of NUPRC, Gbenga Komolafe, consistently raised concerns about the non-availability of feedstock for local processing. The Commission records show that crude was being made available under domestic crude supply obligation. However, the explanation as to why these local refiners were rejecting the feedstock, they said, first of all, crude quality preferences and price negotiation. Well, this is not a price that would help me, cost of production and pricing. Yes.
That look, it's almost like a deregulated market. It's about cost-reflective positioning. And the refiners are saying that, look, the grade of crude, in fact, these are not locally sourced crudes alone. Say, some of these crude are imported into the country. If you check the report very well. I'm still waiting for the official response of the Refiners Association.
Yeah.
Again, because I'm sure they will definitely respond to this, to explain why they're in a position where these cargoes are made available and they're not taking it. A Dangote refinery, for example, from a lot of the information I've gotten from those that should know, is that, look, when you build a refinery, say, they build it for variants, the Venezuelan crude, the Brazilian crude, the one from is constructed to grind or refine a particular kind of crude. Not every crude can a refinery refine because of the of Nigeria. That's why even in the international community called fine, they call it sweet crude because of the texture, the grade, and the quality. So maybe the local refiners are looking more for our own local crude, and then they don't know where you go and bring this one. I think they should take it. They refuse to take the crude and then go all the way to USA, go all the way to Brazil to go and import crude.
Well, Fortside, over the weekend there were rumors that the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy had initially was not named. But speaking with correspondent, a senior official who preferred not to be named for not being authorized to speak, which is a bit serious, but it is not a elsewhere. If the doctors say that to the President on Information and Strategy by years old, of course he would fall ill, but he's in Nigeria and he's recuperating. So the president, but he is indeed ill and he's in his home in Nigeria being cared for.
Well, that should rest the matter. The official position of the government, who has said, well, on the World Bank IMF summit, that will be half of Nigerians to that particular summit. A 69-year-old, even a 30-year-old can fall sick. There's nothing wrong. A culture of lack of openness, transparency, and accountability when it comes to our public officials. You can see that because he's the Minister of Finance, people want to know. If he was a private citizen, there will not be reason for anybody to know anyway, unless he's a celebrity. Right. For example, I was watching CNN yesterday, and there's an update on the treatment on Joe Biden.
Yes.
I think he has started he's a former president. They showed us the kind of cancer, how severe the cancer is, and they told us the possible treatment. And now that he has started the treatment, and then we'll just say this, say that. Well, it's obvious that there's a problem. We'll speak to him soonest recovery. Let's hope that he recovers soonest, and be back on his feet.
And we can evidence that they're comfortable sharing with the public. Anyways,
and say that it's not a do or die affair. If the Minister of Finance, which is a very
well, for outside, Adeleke denies hiding Amotekun commander blast APC. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has denied allegations by the All Progressive Congress that is harboring the commander of the Osun Operatives of Security Agency. The opposition party says if the news fails, then Governor Adeleke must take such praise would amount to lip service if he continues to protect Omoyele, the party with his former chief security officer who had been out of circulation, a killing that had happened in a community in Osun State.
Sage, Official State Police. Now the community, I think he felt an arrest or something. And they said people had attacked them and then they opened fire and killed, I think 2 or 3 people were killed. So now what has happened, the allegations about shooting people and killing people in the community by a Motekun call. When I even saw this, I thought that maybe they would have said that they were engaged some bandits or some kidnappers. They have gone to a community that want they have in Anambra too. They've been brutalizing people, harassing people. You saw the issue of the core member.
Yeah.
So if we must do these people, I'm not saying it's a political matter. The APC might take it from the lens of politics. I'm just saying that look, if people have been killed, whoever is responsible must be held to account.